from Rental Heroes. He's my guest. Ben, welcome to the show. I want to talk to you specifically about Rental Heroes in a moment. Before we do, I just wanted to focus on AI, artificial intelligence. It seems to me that it was very much, for the big boys, somewhere in the future. But I tell you, that has really changed, hasn't it?
Yeah, look, absolutely, Kevin, and thank you very much for having me on your show. AI, believe it or not, so we're in the conversational AI game. There's many aspects of AI, but conversational AI actually started in 1966 by MIT over in the US. They built their first sort of simulated conversation, and it was a chatbot called Eliza. And sort of fast forward all of these years, we saw in 2010, sort of 2011, really the first commercialization of this conversational type AI, and that was typical for sort of big banks and telecommunication companies, insurance companies, and these guys obviously have big pockets and deep resources for technology. So really AI in a conversational way was the big boys. Consumers got used to interacting with what were rather ordinary chatbots back in the day for their banks and telcos, but they weren't really popping up in the small business space, and that was largely due to the large investment and bespoke development. And over the last few years, we've really seen AI reach consumers, so skipping from enterprise into consumers, and we see it almost every day now on our smartphones, where we are prompted with suggestions on how much time we should allow to get through traffic, calendar reminders, etc. But where we play and also where we see a big opportunity now is in the sort of small business space. So these are in the real estate space, franchisees that are owned by a group of owners. And this is where the opportunity for AI, we believe, is over the next couple of years.
We'll go deeper into Rental Heroes in a moment and a bit more about AI and its experiences. But before we do that, can I just get a bit of background from you? What led you to where you are now? What's your history?
Well, look, from a very young age, I always was in the backyard making contraptions and sort of inventions, as a lot of kids do. But I guess I always had that desire to make stuff. And more recently in my career, I spent the best part of a decade in the telecommunications industry, in the smartphone space, and so became very aware of how technology was moving and how users were adapting to that technology. My most recent job before I was a co-founder of Rental Heroes was working for a big health insurance company, and we were using artificial intelligence and digital channels to provide consumers with choice on how to access information when they need it and how they need it. And so I got exposed to a lot of the cutting edge applications of artificial intelligence. And it was largely that grounding in that enterprise space that inspired me to look at the property sector. And as a tenant and also as a landlord, actually, I saw an opportunity, along with my co-founder Dominic, to use this type of technology to try and make renting as an experience much better for tenants, but also much better for property managers and landlords. So I guess it was a combination of life's journeys and also where we are in terms of the evolution of AI technology globally that led to Rental Heroes.
Yeah, on the website, rentalheroes.com.au, there is a very good explainer video. Suggest you go and have a look at that. It tells you very much about how the system works. But just briefly about the website and the system, Ben, just walk me through how Rental Heroes works and why it is so different.
Yeah, sure, and thank you for the opportunity, Kevin. So look, Rental Heroes, we have a product and we call that product Alex. And Alex is a chatbot and he's powered by conversational artificial intelligence. But the way it works is Alex is like a personal assistant for every property manager. So if you're a property manager, you have access to Alex 24/7, And Alex actually communicates directly with your tenants. So in the first instance, tenants will access and talk to Alex, and Alex is going to try and, wherever possible, help solve a tenant question or issue himself through a self-service approach, and all of the back end is programmed with all those different options that respond to common tenant requests. And where not possible, Alex is going to simulate human behaviour and almost do what a property manager would do if they were talking to a tenant over the phone. So for example, if a tenant has a maintenance issue, which of course is one of the common use cases in property management, yep, Alex is going to go through a series of diagnostic questions to really try and understand right up front what that issue is, help the tenant with the common troubleshooting approaches for each type of issue. And if that's not possible, Alex is going to gather that information and put it seamlessly into the property manager's cloud-based CRM or trust accounting system or maintenance tracking system, so that they can go ahead and get on with getting that job done. So what Alex is doing here is he is removing the amount of emails and phone calls that go back and forth between property managers to understand and therefore action tenant requests.
Yeah, AI has come such a long way, hasn't it? I mean, when you're talking to Alex, it's like you're talking to a real person, and they react to what you say. And I guess just over time it learns, doesn't it? I mean, but they learn very quickly.
Absolutely, and it's all about the data. So companies like Rental Heroes, we're obviously very data hungry, and our success and the development of the product is only as good as the amount of data that we're consuming. So even today, we've been in the market for over 12 months now, but even today we occasionally see requests and questions come through that we just haven't seen before. And in that sort of case, Alex does learn, and we also update him so that the product keeps getting broader and deeper in its ability to intelligently respond to tenant human requests.
The beautiful part about it too, Ben, I guess, is the fact that you only have to teach Alex once. Once he learns, that's it. It's there forever.
That's true, and actually, in the artificial intelligence space, I mean, traditionally the sort of definition of artificial intelligence is to simulate machines are simulating human intelligence, but in some ways that's not true. Artificial intelligence, even today, has got to the point where it can surpass what a human can actually do. So there are literally hundreds of different permutations of types of conversation that Alex will engage in. And in some ways, it would take weeks to train a human being on how to get to that level of ability in terms of their ability to diagnose and respond to common tenant requests. So, yeah, artificial intelligence is getting seriously good, and in some ways it is a better technology for some of these use cases than traditional human conversations.
Yeah, I want to take you, just before we finish, and we're getting very close, unfortunately, now to the end, because I really enjoy talking about this. I love technology, but I want you to take me into some of the areas that Alex is involved in to talk about the depth of his involvement in that rental process. But just before we do, I noticed a comment from you in one of your blog articles on your website where you talked about the adaptation or the adoption of AI and technology into a real estate office it needs for the user to be in the here and now. I think that was the term you used. Yeah, the here and now. Can you explain to me what you mean by that?
Yeah, sure. Look, there's a lot of hype, and that's natural, about artificial intelligence and where it's going and how it will shape our future world. And I think it's useful sometimes to sort of pare that back and look at, well, right now, as a business owner of a real estate franchise, you know, what can artificial intelligence do for me right now? And that will look very different, by the way, to what it can do for you in 1, 2, 5, 10 years' time. And so at Rental Heroes, we've built a product that slots straight into your existing systems and processes. So it is powered by this conversational AI, but it also links into your existing systems like Property Me or Property Tree or whatever system that you're using. And what that means is that we're not asking real estate branches to completely restructure the way they run their businesses. That may come in due course, but they can have a taste of the benefit of these technologies and the automation and the tenant experience that it drives without having to fundamentally change the way their operating model works. And that's good in a couple of ways. So it gives you immediate benefit. So obviously we are helping property managers by removing phone calls and emails, and we're helping tenants by providing a 24/7 service that they've never had access to before. But what we're also doing is we're helping property management teams go on that artificial intelligence journey. So today we are an AI chatbot and we do all of the things that I just spoke about. But in the future, like many AI tech companies, we will be so much more than that. Artificial intelligence lends itself to crunching big data in real time and presenting those findings back to their users. So we imagine a world where there's predictive maintenance, for example, where we're able to quite easily quantify the cost and the types of issues that might pop up before they even pop up.
Yeah, I think the predictive nature. Sorry to interrupt you. I think the predictive nature of what AI brings to the table is going to save a huge amount of time, frustration, and money for property owners as well. But we'll cover that maybe in another one of our talks. Can I just round this out, because I want to touch on just how deep Alex is already into a business and how much he can help tenants, because I think there's a figure, almost like 80% of what Alex does in terms of urgent repairs are done out of hours. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So we're at 77% of requests that go through Alex are out of hours, and that just reflects the nature of people's lifestyles today. From a tenant perspective, it's super easy. So Alex does operate in Facebook Messenger at the moment, and we deliberately use that technology because that's a application that we find about 85% of tenants already have on their phones. So it removes barriers to entry in terms of logging into portals, downloading apps, etc. It's there in an application that you're already using every day. So that's one thing. That's what really drives that sort of tenant adoption. And what we are finding is, after working with new customers, after a few months, we're finding that 6 out of 10 requests are going through Alex and therefore benefiting from the automation and the superior technology that Alex is able to offer.
It's huge. That's massive, isn't it? When you think about it, 6 out of 10 are being handled by Alex.
Yeah, that's correct, and that's available today, and that's before we even think about all of the crazy stuff that you were mentioning earlier around where it's going in terms of the predictive aspects of artificial intelligence. So there's an immediate benefit. From a real estate agency's point of view, you can turn Alex on for as little as $99 per month, provide your tenants a superior experience and benefit from that automation at the back end. But more importantly, you're strategically getting into the artificial intelligence space so that you can grow with us. So as we deploy more features and Alex gets smarter and deeper, you're able to benefit from that as well. But today, Alex covers all sorts of things, from maintenance, which is a big one. That's probably 2/3 of the types of requests that come in. But things like, I want to have a pet, I've been broken into, how much is my rent, am I in arrears? All these sorts of questions that come in on a day-to-day basis to property managers. Alex is going to take care of them and automate those responses as much as possible.
Hey Ben, we're out of time, but thank you so much for sharing this with us. I think it's a fabulous innovation. I just love AI and I love technology and where it's all headed. But the website is rentalheroes.com.au. Check it out. As I said, there's a nice explainer there that'll tell you all about it as well. Tremendous benefits for property managers, even greater benefits for property owners and tenants. Ben, thanks for your time.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Much appreciated.